What's up, Open Floor Globe? I'm your host, Michael the Pod Pina, and I'm joined on the other line by my good friend, Sports Illustrated staff writer Rohan Nadkarni. Rohan, before we get into today's show, I just wanted to check and see if you happen to catch the humongous sporting event that everyone is talking about from yesterday. It was watched and enjoyed by millions around the globe.
I already know where this is going. This is
of course,
so stupid.
I am referring to Boston's 8th straight win and Jason Tatum's 38-point performance against the Atlanta Hawks. Just, did you have any thoughts there? And, you know, what was your reaction to watching greatness unfold as it did?
I'm just wondering when you're going to stop treating the Celtics with kid gloves, because every week or you're either in my text talking about Jason Tatum's a Hall of Famer, Jason Tatum's an all-decade player, Jason Tatum's going to be an MVP, you know, Jaylen Brown's the next Kawhi, etc.
I don't think I've ever texted any of those things, but continue.
Okay,
continue.
you've texted actually most of those things. You've actually said most of those things. I just want to know if you'll finally raise your expectations for them now, because to me, this is the way they're being talked about by the Democratic People's Republic of Boston. You just think that this is like the greatest team ever assembled. So good. I just think that now they deserve to have the same expectations on them as all the other contenders in the East. And I just want to know if you're willing to do that. Just the way that their talent is talked about, you'd think that this is what they've been like all year long.
So you just called them a contender. Was that a Freudian slip, or is that what you believe, Rohan?
I've been on the Celtics before you. I was texting you before. I was like, I think the Celtics are really good. You're like, I don't know. I still have a couple questions. Blah, blah, blah. I've been saying they're a serious threat for a long time. I just want to know when you'll start saying that, when you'll start putting that out there, instead of what everyone is doing right now, which is hedging and being like, oh, this could be interesting, but we don't know. Like, we don't want to get our hopes up. Like, no. Like, when are you going to finally, demand that they live up to expectations?
So I really like what I've seen. Real quick, we're going to talk about. I guess should we save the Celtics talk for the first segment of the show?
No, you brought it up. Let's hear it.
Okay. Look, they have the best net rating now in the Eastern Conference for the entire season. They just passed your beloved Miami Heat in that category. They have the best net rating in the entire NBA in 2022. They have the second best defense in the NBA all season, the best defense in 2022. They have, I believe, the best five-man unit in the league in their starting lineup. And for me, once that unit started to get healthy and play together and with consistent minutes, that's when I was like, okay, things are kind of falling into place here. And then the trade deadline happens, and we've already kind of talked about this, and we will discuss it in our first segment of today's show, but Derrick White has looked absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to step on too much of what I have to say there, but he really clarifies a lot of the roles and the expectations for everybody else and the way that he plays and complements Tatum and Jaylen and Marcus. And Ime Udoka already loves putting him with the other four starters in place of Al Horford. He's closed every game so far with that unit, closed halves with that unit, and they are incredible. So I'm optimistic about this team, I'm not going to lie. And just looking at it as objectively as possible, I do think that their road will be harder because of how they struggled earlier in the season. They're likely not going to finish with a top 3 seed, top 4 seed, home court, and all that. But this team in a playoff series is going to be very, very difficult to beat, very difficult to score on. Having Jason Tatum, who always plays better after the All-Star break, as their primary option, if his shot comes around as it did yesterday in that thumping of the Atlanta Hawks at TD Garden, they're just going to be a very tough out. And
yeah, all right. So anything less than a conference finals, I think, is a disappointment for this team.
Well, I mean, like, if you look at, we're going to talk about this in a future episode, as you know, but there's a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference.
And a lot of
so everyone else is just going to be disappointed.
Yeah, all those good teams. I'm telling you, I don't want to step on what we're going to talk about, but I'll tell you this: if Philly, Brooklyn, Miami, if all of them miss the conference finals, that's a disappointment for every single one of those franchises. I don't know why we're not holding Tatum and Brown to the same standard.
Well, I think...
Yeah, see, here you go with the backtrack.
No.
Best net rating in this. Best team since
about
this.
that.
All right. We'll wait.
It's a different conversation when we talk about disappointment and all that, because some of these teams. Okay, are you going to listen and learn? Okay.
No, I'm in agreement.
I know. So some of these teams made humongous trades that mortgage their future in a lot of ways, particularly the Philadelphia 76ers. And so, and you look at the Brooklyn Nets also as a team where your best player is 32 years old. You have Kyrie Irving as a free agent. Everything could crumble very quickly. And so with Boston, your best player is 23. This is just an education hour.
Let's just move on, because this is what you do. You come in and you pump up with the stats, but then you don't want the expectations. Tatum's going to be young forever. He's going to be on the Celtics forever. It's cowardly. It's just absolutely cowardly. You come in like best team in 2022. No, then say anything less than a conference finals would be a disappointment. You're trying to have it both ways. They're trying to be this good. They're trying to be the best team in the East in your mind. You threw in they have the best net rating, but then you want to come back and say, oh, no. If they go out in the first or second round, it's fine. Come on, man. That's pathetic. Let's just move on. Let's please get to the first segment of the show, because that's just sad from you.
Getting past the second round is hard, Rohan. I don't understand.
But that's what should be expected of great teams.
They're a very good team that's on a good stretch right now, this is
pathetic.
You want me to just say that the Celtics are the greatest team since the 17 Golden State Warriors? I'm not going to say things like that.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you should expect them to win extra. I'm not even saying the finals. I'm saying the conference finals, and you can't even go there. That's pathetic.
I think they will make the conference finals. Are you happy? Are you going to sleep tonight?
Yeah, there we go. Finally,
I'm glad.
A declarative sentence from you. It's the first time you've ever attached your name to anything more than, I think this team could possibly make this round of the playoffs. Good.
I know. You're going to Mission Impossible, take off your face one day when we're recording this, and it's just going to be Kendrick Perkins on the other side. And I don't know how I'm going to respond to that and deal with that, but I hope that day never comes, Rohan. I hope nuance has a space on this podcast forever.
There's a difference between nuance and having absolutely no conviction whatsoever, because you're trying to leave the biggest out possible for your favorite team. That's what it is. You always want Tatum and Brown to have an out. You always want them to have an out. And it's just
I've been critical of them. I've been critical of them in print. I've been critical of them on this show many times. I do not know what you were referring to. But, not all of us can say, as you do, lower the expectations for your favorite team. And then when they do lose, say that I knew all along. And when they do win, say that Heat culture is undefeated and Pat Riley should be the president of the United States. So it's we got to look in the mirror sometimes, Rohan. But
and I'll tell you right now, last year's Heat season, disappointment. This year's Heat team, if they don't make it, disappointment. That's expectations, Mike.
So on today's show, Rohan, we're going to give some snap reactions to the new names and faces that changed teams last week. Who looks good? Who should already have buyer's or seller's remorse? We're also going to be doing an all-star draft, Team Pod versus Team Rohan. But I know you're very excited for this segment.
But first, in active protest the whole time.
That's what the listeners want.
Yeah.
But first, a quick reminder to our wonderful listeners, speaking of, to please keep your emails coming. openfloormail@gmail.com. That's openfloormail@gmail.com. Okay, let's hop in, Rohan. I don't want to overreact to, I think, 2 games so far, especially because the team that I'm about to celebrate lost both of those games. But the first player I want to quickly touch base on is Tyrese Haliburton. with the Indiana Pacers, who, I mean, this guy he's just like a messianic figure already. Incredible. Like both of his performances have been great, better than better than I expected, just from the jump. Just his chemistry with Duarte, with just everybody there has been terrific. He's excelled on both ends. A 3-point shot looks great. He's really pushing the pace on a Rick Carlisle team.
Racking up a ton of
terrific.
Assists. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what have you seen so far from Tyrese that you like?
I just loved that that Pacers Cavs game that they played against each other was really fun and really good. Karis
LeVert's revenge.
Hit the clincher down the stretch. Talk about LeVert in a second as well, but I was impressed with. He seemed like he really had something to prove. That's kind of something that's fun that happens after a trade. I mean, you could say the same about LeVert, but like he's really hit the ground with like an excitement, like a real. It feels like he really wants to prove to his new teammates that he wants to be there, and that's been really fun. To me, what the really thing is seeing him rack up the assists. You can sense that he has a little bit of chemistry with Buddy Hield. But being in a new situation and already being so willing to share the ball, I think that's a really good sign moving forward. LeVert has been interesting. He's played like 14 minutes as like nominally in the starting lineup with Allen, Mobley, Okoro. I guess in an ideal world he's playing instead of Okoro instead of with Okoro, right?
Who do you think should start?
I don't think that he is going to start playoff games, but I think he's going to close playoff games.
I think that's the ideal scenario for Cleveland. Yes. I agree.
But I found it. I just wanted to look it up, even though I knew it would be a tiny sample size. But for what it's worth, LeVert, Garland, Okoro, Mobley, and Allen, which I don't think will be their closing lineup because I think LeVert will be in place of Okoro. But that lineup had a negative 37.2 net in 14 minutes. Those are always funny to me. But LeVert will be interesting. That's one I have my eye on because I think we're both kind of in agreement of his role there. But I'm curious about the fit and how it all comes together. I think that he also has chemistry with Jarrett Allen that you could sense a little bit. But that was the one that, they've been such a good team, and that lineup, their starting lineup has been so good. I'm curious how LeVert's going to fit in there. We didn't talk about that trade too much last week during the Megapod. How do you feel about that one?
I like it for Cleveland. I like Karis LeVert as someone who can get downhill for them. It's going to be interesting when Lauri Markkanen comes back too. Mm-hmm. That's a player we haven't mentioned, but he's been out with an ankle injury, and just how JB Bickerstaff kind of shuffles his rotation and figures everything out, who closes, who starts, all that. But it's like with Garland out at the beginning of that Pacers game that we mentioned, Garland didn't play in that game, and he was so missed. Like, they couldn't do anything offensively. Yeah. I felt very bad for Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, who had to create a lot of offense for themselves, and it was a little ugly. It was a little stagnant. And then in the end, their defense kind of comes around after the Pacers stop hitting every single three that they take. And Karis LeVert just really provided the punch that they needed offensively. He was hitting huge shots, making big plays, and running pick and roll, finding corner guys. Just like he was orchestrating pretty good offense. And if he plays that way throughout an entire playoff series, then there's just a different dimension to the Cleveland Cavaliers. A team that, to be honest, I'm not that high on going into the postseason. I think they're a wonderful regular season story, but when we have time to strategize against that team, I'm just nothing against Evan Mobley, who is terrific, but rookies tend to not excel in the postseason as they do in the regular season. So I'm interested to see how they perform. And there's just a lot of really good teams in the East. So matchup dependent, I'm not that high on them. But I think Karis is interesting, and they didn't give up a ton to get him. I like the aggressiveness from the front office. I'll say that.
For sure. It also is a smart trade in the sense that They certainly can extend him. I think some people expect it, but they're not. They didn't lock themselves into a core or a highly paid whatever. Like, they can still kind of sense out the fit before they have to commit to anything. So I like it from that aspect as well.
Yes. So, did anybody else?
I mean, Sabonis' first game was awesome. That was really fun against the Wolves. I mean, he was balling.
Do you feel? Do you feel worse or better or net neutral for Kings fans? Like 3 days after the trade deadline.
Mostly still net neutral. The thing is, it was never about Sabonis being a bad player. Like, we've talked about how much we like Sabonis on this podcast, how much we wanted to see him on a good team, etc.
Sure.
It's more about, and I hate to do this because I don't think that like fans at the end of the day, like, we've gotten just too over the top into like people worrying about assets and contracts and flipping this and turning this into that, and it's like people don't even watch basketball anymore, man. Like, just enjoy your team. But I feel bad for Kings fans that says, listen, Haliburton was a homegrown guy who really wanted to be there. It was the stroke of genius draft pick that you made, one that you had like on all those other teams that passed on him. And he's someone who could have been with your team for the next, he could have been in Sacramento for 7 more years if he signed a 5-year extension. Or 6 more, if he signed another 4-year extension. So it just is, why give up on that for a guy who's good, but nobody really believes is going to put your team over the top of where it currently is now, and who could leave in 2 years, who's kind of a flight risk. So I don't know. That to me is why it's like, this wasn't just a trade about what you did on the court. It's just about, it seems like even when this franchise does something right, it kind of squanders it.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a good chance they don't make the playoffs again.
Yeah, there's a good chance they don't even make the play-in.
That is also true. One of their rivals, I guess, for this spot, the Pelicans, look pretty. I mean, CJ McCollum, I think he looks pretty good from what I've seen so far. I know there's been some up and down shooting with him, but that tends to happen, especially in a really small sample size. But I like that trade. I said that on our Megapod episode. But you're right; they could miss the Kings could miss the play-in again, and it's really interesting how good De'Aaron Fox has looked since the trade. It's like, okay, it's like Luka. The first game after they trade Porzingis, he just makes every shot, and you're like. Dude, come on.
I tweeted this when it was like, have you seen those photos? It's like Nicole Kidman leaving her divorce with Tom Cruise. She just like has her arms in the air, like celebrating. I was like, this is Luka in that first game.
Okay, so before we start our draft, I do wanna mention Derrick White real quick. You had the small sample size lineup data. Derrick White in 15 minutes with Smart, Jalen, Time Lord, and Tatum, plus 42.7. Obviously a sustainable number. We expect that to keep up throughout the next couple months here. In all seriousness, he's hitting threes. We'll see what happens, when some of those tough shots don't drop that he's been hitting so far. But it's just like the number one criticism for this team offensively has been the ball sticks. The ball never sticks when Derrick White's on the floor. He moves really well off of it. When he gets it, it's either a drive-in kick or he calls for a ball screen and gets off of it as soon as he reads the defense. Swings it, reverses it, just like very .5-esque coming out of the San Antonio Spurs system. And it enhances everything that Ime Udoka wants to do. Defensively, he's been just a natural. I mean, him and Marcus Smart together is just a joy to watch.
Defensively, he's been almost. I mean, he's taken charges. It's been a seamless fit. It's really been a seamless fit.
Yeah, I mean the Celtics love switching everything, and he can guard 1 through 4 pretty. He's capable of that easily. So I just think that was a really smart trade on their end. And Daniel Tice hasn't played yet. They lost Richardson and Schroeder. I just think that the upgrade is it's great, and it's noticeable. And in a playoff series, when you're shortening your rotation, they have 7 guys, Grant Williams being the other, I guess the 7th man, who you can just go to battle with in a series. So Aaron Nesmith and Peyton Pritchard, it would be wonderful if one of them could play with any sort of consistency. That has not really happened yet, but yeah, Celtics look good. We are we're hanging the banner 18. This is the year. Okay, are you happy now with that proclamation, Rohan?
It's not about proclamations, Mike. It's just like you want to have an out. Like all you've talked about is how good they are. I just wish podcasts, Mike, reflected a little bit of real life, Mike. I just wish people listening to the show were privy to the text you've been sending me the last 10 days.
People can't handle that.
And you can't even bring yourself to come on the show and say less than a conference finals would be a disappointment. If you saw the things this man was texting me, you'd understand why I'm as upset as I am.
These are lies and falsehoods. I should get on the record.
One thing you cannot accuse me of is acting differently in our group chat than I do on the podcast.
That's fair. I'll say that. Yeah, that's
I'm all row all the time. I'm all row all the time, baby.
Is there anyone else who a team, a player that you're just kind of like? I mean, the big ones we haven't really. There's been no opportunity to assess. Like Harden is out,
yeah, of course,
the hamstring.
Do you think that was like we got to keep him out, otherwise we'll catch too much flack for it?
I will say there was no limp when he got off that PJ.
Can we talk about how absurd that was? I think Tyler Twines tweeted like he looks like he just got out of a 20-year bid. Like, why? It was like he just got rescued from a hostage situation. It's like we gotta hug him as soon as he gets down the stairs. Like, it was so ridiculous.
Man. He was not expecting to be videotaped. If you watch that clip that Daryl Morey posted on Instagram over the weekend, but good stuff. Good. The NBA is glorious. We love it.
Can we before we get to the All-Star draft that I'm really looking forward to doing, really excited about it. Can we talk even a little bit about the Super Bowl halftime show?
Oh, sure. What did you want to say about it?
I mean, it was incredible. Did you not have like a fantastic time? Did you watch it? I mean, it was fantastic.
I forget if I've ever said this on the pod before, but when I was in the 7th grade, I attended the Up in Smoke tour. My father took me. And that was still, to this day, one of the greatest, most just indelible experiences of my entire life for a variety of reasons. I'm a humongous fan, my whole life, humongous Dr. Dre fan, humongous Snoop Dogg fan. Eminem, I kind of got over after I graduated from middle school,
right?
But
they let him.
But
yeah, let's not get into Eminem. Yeah,
no, but Kendrick right now is
come on,
and has been my favorite like musician, and I'm like on my couch last night crying, being like, I thought you were gonna drop new music. I need new Kendrick in my life. Please, God.
I'm like the Joker meme where he's wearing the Nike Tech fleece, just drawing the clown makeup on every time. Like you see one of those random tweets, it's like Kendrick Lamar new single at midnight. That halftime show was awesome, man.
It was great.
My dad texted me in the middle. He was like, one of the best halftime shows, and I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, okay.
Well, it's just hilarious that it took. John Caramonica wrote this review of it in the New York Times today, and it's like so much of it was supposed to be like, this is groundbreaking, this is hip hop, and it's like the acts that they chose were they creatively peaked at least 15 years ago. It's like,
I mean, none of them did a song.
Very cutting edge, guys. Very cutting edge.
Yeah. I mean, when Dr. Dre is like, I've been in the game for 30 years.
Yeah, I was like, he better,
right.
yeah. It's just
They were great, though.
It is
Listen,
what it
they
is.
were great, though.
They were great.
Fantastic. They were
amazing.
Snoop Dogg was awesome. You'd never have known that he was, making cooking shows with Martha Stewart. It was incredible.
Just living the best life.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Do you have any other thoughts about the halftime show or even the Super Bowl? I know this is an NBA pod and people get very upset when we talk about football on it, but do you have 10 seconds of reaction to what actually happened in the game?
Well, I'll just say one more thing about the halftime show. I wish Kendrick and Mary J. Blige did Now or Never. That's one of my favorite songs. And two, I'm just glad it was a fun game. That was a good game. No notes. Both teams tried hard. Both teams played hard.
Both teams played hard, my man.
Yeah.
Both teams played hard. Okay, I think on that note, I can see you are just like chomping at the bit. You're just drooling right now.
Itching with anticipation.
So excited for this all-star draft we're going to do. I figured with All-Star Weekend here in a few days that it would be fun just to choose teams like LeBron and KD did last Thursday. We will be selecting the players who are actually set to play. And since no replacement for James Harden has been announced, he's out with a hamstring, as of this recording, we're going to assume that Adam Silver made the right decision and went with Jared Allen for the honor of appearing in the All-Star game. Okay, Rohan. So the last time we had a draft, I gave you a trivia question to see who would go first. We're gonna do that again. Are you ready?
Can I actually? You're gonna say no because you take this so seriously, but can I make a suggestion?
You may.
Do you agree with me that the draft is flawed because they go back and forth with the picks? Like the person who picks second should get next two, or it should be a snake draft.
That is a snake draft. What you just described.
No, because in my scenario, the person who goes second only gets next two the first time, and then they go 1-1 back and forth.
Wouldn't that? So okay. So would the teams be even then? I'm not smart enough to.
Yes, they still would
be.
be even because you still pick until we used to do it on the playground all the time. I'm surprised you never did this, but yes, the teams would still be even. It just kind of flips the order a little bit, like odds and evens, but the teams would still be even. It's just, to me, every year LeBron gets the best team because they go 1-1 back and forth, which is not really fair in my opinion.
Well, I think that the players are so good that it's whatever, but we can do whatever you want because I'll appease this because I know that I had to pull 4 of your teeth out of your mouth
Exactly.
to get you on today's show to do this. Okay, so can I still ask a trivia question to the right to go first? Is that okay? Can we do that still?
Yeah, I guess. Although maybe I don't want to go first. So.
Or you can choose. Well, the right to choose whether you want to go first or second and third.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yes,
yeah,
you
all
can
right.
Joe Burrow this situation real quick.
Okay.
Rohan, my trivia question is: which team has the... If our listeners, I don't know if you can tell, but a lot of time and preparation went into this question. Which team is 30th, dead last in pace this season, Rohan?
The New York Knicks?
So close, yet so far. 30. They're 29th. Very good. That was very close. 30th is the Dallas Mavericks with a pace of 95.91.
I bet that happened recently. How close?
It could have.
How close are the Knicks to them?
The Knicks are 96.03, so it's very, very close. .01.10. I don't know. Okay. Clearly you want to go second and third, so I'll go first. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yo. Okay, cool. Okay, so
Never heard you do that voice before, and I hated it.
Okay, so I have the first
pod.
pick.
Okay, team pod.
Team pod, baby. Team pod versus team row. My first pick is Nicole Yokic. He's in my opinion, and as I've said, I think he's the MVP of the NBA. I think that he's the best offensive player in the NBA. He elevates everyone around him. He makes the game fun. I personally have no greater enjoyment, I think, than watching him play than anybody else this season. And yeah, we love selflessness. We love gravity. We love it all with him. And he has 17 game-saving blocks also, which is just wild. He had one over the weekend that was hilarious. I think, it was against the Raptors. Okay, so I'm going Jokic. I feel very good about this pick. Before you give your picks here, Rohan?
Mm-hmm.
Does Jokic surprise you at all? What do you think about him going first overall in this exercise?
I think this is you trying to provoke me somehow, or you trying to kind of garner.
I'm not. I'm just wondering I want to know your opinion.
I don't have an opinion. That's your player on your team. I don't have an opinion. I'm ready to go with my picks.
Okay.
I don't,
Let's go.
Good for you. If that's how you want to build your team, that's how you want to build your team. That's fine.
Clearly.
I just have some different priorities.
You're very upset. You're very upset, and it's okay. You'll get over it soon.
So with the second and third picks, I'm taking Giannis Antetokounmpo and Steph Curry.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah. I'll take, maybe perhaps the most physically imposing player in the game and the greatest shooter of all time. Obviously no explanation needed there.
So you just mentioned Steph, obviously the greatest shooter of all time. No argument here. What have you made of his it just hasn't been a Steph-esque shooting season now. If you just look at some of the
weird I thought this would have ended 3 weeks ago. It's a little weird. It's definitely a little weird. I'm willing to allow the fact that Draymond's out. They're trying to work Clay back in. And I think a lot of Warriors fans will rightfully tell you the impact he has on the offense is still massive, whether or not the shots are actually going in. And I think that's fair. I think that they are still, obviously, they've been really good and they've won a ton of games without Draymond. I think they still have the best net rating in the NBA. So it's strange to me. It's odd, but I'm not.
The Suns passed them in net rating for second,
okay. But I'm not too concerned about it yet, is what I would say.
I'm not concerned either. I did watch. Well, first of all, it's the value that he has on a basketball game is everyone
exactly.
thinks that every shot he takes is going in.
I've said this for years now. The threat of his shooting is more important than if his shot's even going in. It's because of what he does to defenses. It just turns them inside out. That what the shot going in or not almost becomes irrelevant.
Right. I do think Draymond's absence matters. He's the setup man. And it was really scary to watch that game against the Lakers on Saturday night. I don't know if you caught that one. But, he has an off shooting night. Steph does. Still able to get to the rim, and he makes some important floaters in crunch time. But it's if that version of Klay Thompson is, what we're going to see in the playoffs.
Klay was sick in the fourth, man.
Just some of those, they weren't fluky shots. They were fluky, catches off of, weird
broken
bounces
plays,
or whatever.
Offensive rebounds.
But he still just drills them with, the quickest, most beautiful, aesthetically pleasing release and form in NBA history. And if that's just going to be what he is now, or just in the playoffs, a guy who can go for it was what he once was, a guy who just like can get hot, take over a game, can go for 30 any night, go for 15 or 16 and a quarter any quarter. That's just interesting. So shout out to Clay, who's just a joy to watch play basketball. Okay, so I'm up next. My pick.
Well,
here.
I have a question.
Sure.
LeBron's technically in the field, right?
Yes, he can be selected.
Okay. All right. Well, I should have probably asked that before I went, but that's okay.
That's okay. You got two good players, very good players. I'm going with. This is going to be fun, I think. I'm going with Joel Embiid. And my team is very big. My team is powerful. I have now whatever. Everyone knows who Joel Embiid is and what he's capable of. But these two are just like really fascinating contrasts and quote unquote rivals as it pertains to the MVP race now, where they finished first and second last year. I think we're on track for them to finish first and second again. I don't know who's going to win. I would vote for Jokic. But just like...
You would really vote for Jokic right now?
For MVP?
Yeah.
I would. I think he's the MVP of the league.
Interesting.
Still. Have you jumped off
I think
this? I thought you were Team Jokic. What happened?
I've been Team Jokic for years, and for most of this season. I'm starting to come around on Embiid a little bit. Embiid's been on a tear, and it's not that team success means everything, but it's a factor, and I think there's a good chance Philly finishes in the top two in the East.
So Philly is fifth right now in the East. There's a chance because they're 2 games back for sure. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I guess I wonder if Harden will hurt the case. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you made that's an interesting point, and one that not to be a cynic, but there was probably like a small bit of Embiid that was like, couldn't we have just gotten this guy in the offseason? I want to win the MVP. But you're right. Like if Harden comes back from the hamstring injury and just looks like that dude, then, and we look at, Jokic. Well, of course, Jokic has Murray and MPJ could come back. I think Tim Connolly said that it's up to them. I don't know if I'm not directly quoting him, but essentially, their rehab and their timetable is up to those guys, and whether or not they can come back, if they can come back this season, and that will impact Jokic's narrative. I hate using that word here, but it would for sure with voters. So that's going to be fun. But anyway, so I have Jokic, I have Embiid. My team is very large, and that's what we're going with here. Okay, so your pick, Rohan.
Yeah, I'm going to go with LeBron James.
I like it.
He's also just someone who is fun, like on all-star teams. You know what I mean? Like he's a good all-star game player. Yeah, exactly. He's a very good hang. He's like saying the right things on mic'd up, like doing funny stuff. Yeah, I want LeBron on the team for sure.
18-time All-Star?
Yeah.
I just looked that up. That's like a ridiculous thing when you say it out loud.
It really is.
He's won All-Star MVP. Guess how many times, Rohan?
3?
Yes. 3
there
times.
We go. Yeah.
Yes. He's the greatest All-Star ever. I mean, it's like he's got every record. Yeah. Well, not everyone, but yeah, he's okay. There's nothing controversial to say about this pick. It's kind of disrespectful that he went, I guess, fifth?
Yeah.
He's LeBron. Okay. My turn.
I mean, it's because
here.
you boffed it. It's because you absolutely are putting together.
No, it's something that I might live to regret. We will see.
Yeah.
But I'm going along the vein of just guys who are great in the All-Star game, who are legends, living legends. I'm going with Chris Paul here.
Wow.
Just an absolute, iconic, ideal all-star performer. I think he's the all-time leader or very close to being the all-time leader in assists at All-Star Weekend. And just the perfect setup, man. Love setting the table. Him and Jokic together would be a lot of fun. Like 2 of the 3 best passers in the NBA this season.
God, could
Passing's
you imagine
great.
if they played together?
I think about that with Luka and Jokic a lot, and how that would be like the most enjoyable basketball team ever assembled. But
I'm going to be honest.
No, Chris Paul.
I think, why I don't think Luka and Jokic would be as fun?
Why?
I think Luka would have the ball in his hands a little bit too much.
Isn't that okay though?
It's not.
Like
not,
I
it's
hear
not,
you.
It's not entertaining. But if you want to get the most out of both players in that scenario, I'd rather have Paul, only because Paul doesn't have the possessions where he's like dribbling for 20 seconds and taking a step back J, which I'm not saying is like not exciting when Luka does it. It's obviously very fun when he does that. I'm just saying if I'm really trying to extract the most entertaining possible, like most entertaining on aggregate, like I think I'd want Paul and Jokic. But I don't disagree. Luka and Jokic should also be a lot of fun.
Okay, so it's your turn. Tell me why you're choosing Andrew Wiggins here, Rohan.
I am choosing my fellow chimney runner in the Memphis Grizzly, Ja Morant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you went there. I was not expecting him to come off the board this soon. I'm a little upset. I'm not going to lie. Why'd you go with Ja? As if
I honestly think out of all the players remaining, I think he's genuinely been the best one out of all of them so far this season. And he is deeply thrilling. I want him because I know he will try to dunk on both Jokic and Embiid during the game. Like he has tried to dunk on every big man that's ever existed. Yeah, he's just so fun. Like talk about a guy who's going to be incredibly fun in his first All-Star game. Like to me, it's no question.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that pick. Your team looks very good. We don't have any wings on my team, which I feel like the Sacramento Kings before the trade deadline. So we're gonna add a really versatile player here. Good shooter, good scorer, good passer. Shout out to Jeremy Woo. I'm going with Jason Tatum here. Surprised to no one, but
I mean, I think that was the move to make here. It really was.
He's starting in the game because he replaced KD. It should be said, I probably would have gotten KD first or second if KD was available. But yeah, Tatum, just talked about him quite a bit at the top of the show. Just not having the greatest, most efficient season ever, but when you can kind of plug him in anywhere, particularly on the defensive end, and he fits. So I am happy with this selection, and we're getting a little bit of balance in my roster.
I like it. I'm gonna go with there's some we messed up the math on this somehow, or it's because the NBA has the weird, but like we're gonna have a leftover player.
We will. We'll get to that when we get there.
Okay. I'm gonna go with DeMar DeRozan.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a player who I thought you were going to take here, who I'm going to take next.
I already have a point guard, and I I don't mind getting just a mid-range sniper.
Okay, I wasn't expecting Demar to go this soon, but I will say that ESPN's Tim Bontemps, friend of the show, he's doing another straw poll for MVP at the All-Star break, and I participated in it, and DeMar DeRozan was on my ballot. He's, in my opinion, one of the 5 still. Remember we're like, what was it, like 2 weeks into the season, we were talking about DeMar as like an MVP candidate, and it was kind of like, it was like half facetious, like half wishful thinking, half like we're just celebrating this guy.
Yeah.
And he should be in the conversation still.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they've stayed as high in the East as they have had with all the injuries, it's pretty crazy. I mean, no
just
Lonzo.
On-offs are wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. Love DeMar. Love all of his success. Okay, so the player who I actually thought you were going to take right there, Jimmy Butler. I'm going with Jimmy Butler.
Wait.
I'm further balancing my team. Yes? Is there a problem?
Wasn't Butler in the reserves?
Yeah, it's okay. We're just picking the teams.
I thought we were following it the way we had to do it.
Did you not know this? Did you not know this beforehand?
I thought you had to pick it the way we picked it in the NBA.
Would this have impacted you picking DeMar DeRozan?
It might have a little bit, to be honest. Yeah. I did totally like a memory hold. That's why, because you picked Chris Paul. That's what threw us off the count.
Yeah, I picked Chris Paul with my 3rd pick.
I don't know how you failed to mention this before we start. This seemed like a very important diversion from the actual process.
Well, here's the thing. This obviously matters a lot, and it's borderline a life or death exercise, so I understand you getting a little flustered about it. But
I think I should be allowed to go back one pick.
I did pick Chris Paul. Like, it was the jig was up then.
But I totally didn't think about it.
Are you going to pick Jimmy Butler? You can't pick Jimmy Butler.
I won't pick Jimmy Butler.
All right. We'll take DeMar off the board. Who are you going to pick?
I'm going to pick Luka Doncic.
Okay, so this is why I was a little surprised when you picked DeMar.
Yeah. He just really fits my version of what I want on an all-star team, as someone who's going to do sick passes, sick step backs, be a team player. I mean, Luka, LeBron, and Giannis on the same team. Come on. Plus Steph. Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll put Jimmy Butler in your starting 5.
So I'm picking Jimmy next. Just super selfless.
I think your team would do great in the late '90s Eastern Conference.
I mean, did you just take a shot at? First of all, I agree. Late 90s.
Yeah, no, I'm not really taking a shot.
Let's go.
Like, this team would be sick in like '97.
Yeah, Jimmy is the one guy on this team so far who like can't space, but we know that doesn't matter. And he also is just like we're not about stats on Team Pod. Like we care about the collective.
Are you taking a shot at Jimmy Butler's stats, which are really good?
No, not at all. But he clearly doesn't. If you watch him play, as you do, he does not value his point production. That's just not something that matters to him. He passes up open layups like twice a game.
Dude, the layup thing drives me up a wall. It is insane. It's like that team is like in competition to see who can pass up the most layups on a given night.
Maybe they are, and maybe that's a story.
Yeah,
that you should do some digging into. But also Jimmy in real life, I mean, if this in a game that has no stakes, he's probably the one star who has cared the least about the All-Star game, and just He's sat out. I think what did he sit out? Was that 2 years ago? I cannot remember.
I think it was the LA one where the day of, he just was like, I'm out. That was not a great look. I love Jimmy, but that was not great.
So I'm going with Jimmy. This is going to be an opportunity for him to amend that no-show there. Okay, so our starting fives, real quick to recap before we move on and select the rest of our teams. Team Pod is Jokic, Embiid, Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, and Jimmy Butler. Team Rohan is Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Ja, and Luka. Some good players here.
I mean, it's not even close who is the better team right now.
I know, Team Pod just crushing it. Just physical,
this is like,
physically overpowering.
Your team sucks compared to mine.
We're gonna let the listeners decide at the end of the exercise. But it is your pick, Rohan, I believe, or is it my pick?
It's my pick.
I don't even know
because you have Butler. Okay. So we got Trey's on the board, Wiggins is on the board, DeMar is on the board.
No, you can pick reserves. Remember, you do not have to pick starters. Okay. Because you just said Andrew Wiggins' name, and I got a little flustered.
Van Vliet, Freddie All-Star. I'm going to take... that's what they call him, right?
That's what Matt Devlin calls him.
Yeah, I was like, what am I? I'm getting... I'm going to take... between two guys. I'm going to take Devin Booker.
Respectable pick. Nothing wrong there.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, why Devin over DeMar?
I love DeMar, and I'm a big DeMar fan. Devin Booker, he's a shooter. He's having actually, I think, his best shooting season, especially on volume from three. That pull-up has actually caught up to his reputation. I like when he plays on an opposite team from his teammate. So I like that him and Chris Paul will go head-to-head a little bit. That's fun to me. And yeah, I just think it's I like DeMar. I needed with LeBron and Steph. I want some of the young talent in there too. So I'm going with Devin.
Okay, so this is kind of me. My hand has been forced by my first two picks in terms of the identity of my basketball team, and I'm leaning all the way in. My next pick is going to be Karl Anthony Towns, and we might play a three center lineup, three best centers in the NBA this season. Let's just go. That's just what we're going to do. We don't care about defense, really, even though Embiid's really good at it. We're just crashing the offensive glass, and we're shooting threes. We're posting up. We got all three of those bigs are really good passers. One is the best passer alive. So let's do it. Let's just, basketball's all about 7-footers, and we got a bunch of them. So I feel great. I feel wonderful, no doubt at all in myself and my decision making.
So, I mean, if that's the case, then I'm going to double down myself and say, hey, I'm putting out the best shooters in the world. We're going to surround them. We're going to play 2022 NBA basketball, which is pace and space. We're going to get that Chip Kelly, Oregon, Eric Spoelstra Summit. I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, that was honestly not who I was expecting you to say by your preamble there, but that's fun. Love Donovan, great guy.
I think he's really fun. Really, I think he's really well liked, and obviously the perimeter defense issues aren't going to matter here. I just think he's a really well liked guy around the league. He seems fun. He seems to take these kinds of obligations seriously, so I like him for that.
He's flashy. We like flash in the All-Star game. He also just doesn't. I don't know why he doesn't really strike me as someone who's able to take over for stretches in an environment like this, as some other guys can. But
maybe he's just never asserted himself like that. He also seems like the kind of guy who maybe defers a bit in these scenarios. But if he can get hot,
he for sure can get hot.
when I play LeBron at center with, good Lord, Steph, Devin, Donovan. Oh, it's gonna be nuts. I don't even know if I'm gonna put a
Just
fifth
like
guy on the court.
The low post just power structure of my team is just gonna make that lineup crumble.
I can't wait for you to keep posting up in the All-Star game while the fans boo you
Hell
off
yeah.
the court.
Let's go. Let's go, baby.
Everyone in Cleveland's just throwing stuff at you. I'll line up with Giannis and LeBron against Jokic and Embiid and take my chances and then run you guys off the court on the other end of the floor in what will assuredly be a high-paced game. All right, who's your next pick?
Let's do it. I'm going Trey Young. Love Trey. Excellent playmaker. Got the pull-up three ball. Defense not a concern here in this environment. Yeah, we love Trey. Well, you don't love Trey. I love Trey.
I just the vibes sometimes. I don't dislike him. What I've said to you is John Morant is cooler.
Repeatedly.
Yeah.
You said it repeatedly. Yeah, no, I like Trey and do not fault him for Atlanta's struggles this season as their best player by far. But wanted to get him off the board, even though I probably, knowing you would not have taken him, could have gotten him a little bit later. That was poor strategy on my part.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, just it's tough by me. Okay, your pick.
I'm between two guys right now. I'm going to take Zach Levine.
So wait. So Zach Levine over Demar.
This is not an indictment of Demar, but if you look at the team I'm building, like Donovan and Zach together, like both just explosive shooters, explosive dunkers. I want guys who are going to put on a freaking show for the fans, okay? Like, I'm going to have a team that's athletic, that can shoot, that can dunk. I mean, it's a fun team. It's such a fun team. My LeBron, like, I'm going to play LeBron, Luka, Devin, Donovan, and Zach together for a moment. And it's going to turn the NBA on its head.
They're going to want to check out of the game, though. Like, they won't be able to handle it. Like, this game will be physical. And
it will not.
We're just, like, going to bench press you into
we'll let you keep
the stanchion.
Getting, the thing is, we'll let you keep getting twos because we'll just keep getting threes.
You know, I have never heard that strategy before.
Yeah,
it seems very novel.
Yeah.
And I wish you well with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Like, I think DeMar is a great player, but we're not playing an NBA game. We're playing an all-star game, and I want the guy who's going to be able to shoot from, 15 feet behind the three-point line and also one of the best dunkers of all time.
Sure. No, I no fault. I do not fault you there. Okay, so my pick here, basically, yeah, my team is just going to be very big and very small. Besides Tatum and Butler, those are like the wings that we have here, and I don't want to start naming names here out loud. I guess screw it. I'm going with DeJounte. I'm just being kind of annoying here with that pick because I love him personally, but I like the size. I'm looking at some of the other point guards here, and we're a pass first, selfless team.
Your team sucks, man. Your team sucks. Good Lord.
Just the defensive intangibles, the IQ is just going to be off the charts with this team, and I'm proud.
Your team is ass.
I'm proud of them coming together under the Team Pod banner, and I look forward to dominating. So I'm going with DeJounte.
Lord. Okay. Well, God, there's two guys I really want. I'm going to go with just keeping in spirit of a free-flowing, fun team that's going to be running up and down the court and playing an exciting brand of basketball. I'm going with LaMelo Ball.
I knew you were doing that. That was he was on the tip of my tongue there, and when I went with DeJounte. But LaMelo's great.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot of fun.
Were you surprised when he was picked as the replacement?
You know, a little bit. But to me, sometimes like don't overthink it. Get an exciting guy in there. So I'm not upset with it, but I was a little surprised.
Just like supremely popular, and you know the Hornets. There's the argument that the Hornets deserve a representative for sure. I buy into that, but. He just like never. I feel like he never really came up when we were like previewing the selection process.
Yeah, agreed.
Really, in a serious manner.
Yeah.
And Drew Holiday is better in having a better season.
Yeah.
And his team's better. Jared Allen, who is still available here, and I don't know where Jarrett's going to go in this process. But yeah, that was just an interesting pick, and I guess shout out to him. Congratulations on making it and replacing Kevin Durant. Okay, so my selection, we're just gobbling up the point guards now. I guess at this point, there's two here who I love, and since we're all about defense, we're going with Fred VanVleet here in this team.
Ooh, that was the guy who I would have maybe taken over LaMelo. I do love Freddie.
He's impossible not to adore, having an incredible season. Do you think Pascal has a shot? Now that we're just really briefly on the Raptors, do you think Pascal has a shot of being the official replacement for Harden?
I wonder.
Do you think it's going to be out?
It's tough only because I think he's come on so recently. Like, I think he's a shot. He's been playing really, really well. I don't even know how long it's been now. 6 weeks? 2 months? I don't know. He's been really, really good. I love the Raptors, man. I sometimes have a hard time thinking they won't make the second round, frankly. Like, Nurse is just going to be an absolute nightmare in the playoffs. They're like, length defensively is such. If they catch the right matchup, it's possible. They're just. I don't know what they do against a team like the Sixers because they cannot guard Embiid. Okay.
I do not like that they have not played Thaddeus Young yet.
Yeah.
It's just like
I like Thaddeus Young, but I didn't think that was the right move for them. To be honest.
Really?
They just need a bigger big. They need a center. They need a body. I mean, maybe there's a buyout guy they can go get, but.
I mean, they'll triple team Embiid in the playoffs.
I mean, there's just you need at some point you have to account for Embiid, and they just haven't done it yet. So, all right, I'm up.
Yes, you are. We should probably speed through.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm ready to get going here, buddy. It's lunchtime. I'm gonna go with one of the hometown kids. I'm going to need, like I said, you need one center to match up. I'm going to go with Jared Allen, baby. Yeah.
Jared Allen over Rudy Gobert. What a choice.
I picked 4 straight guards, so I in good conscience, couldn't take Garland. And if you've listened to this podcast, you're not surprised that I'm taking Allen over Gobert, who is, I will say this, you're seeing how important Gobert is this season because the Jazz have largely been ass when he's out. So Gobert's having a great year. I thought Gobert should have been a starter. I believe I said that when we were doing our starters pod. So it is great value to get him in the reserves. I'll say that. But I want one of the Cleveland guys on my team, and I wanted to make sure I got at least one. So I'm going with Jared Allen.
Respectable choice. I'm going with DeMar DeRozan. Just.
I mean, you said it. MVP,
we already talked about him.
I'm going to go with Darius Garland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Love Darius Garland battling the lower back issue, but made his return the other night and is awesome. Okay, yeah, we're getting into the weeds here now. I'm going. I'm going Chris Middleton. I know I don't think that he should have been an All-Star this season, but he is a world champion who hit some big shots, and he can space. He can do whatever. It's Chris Middleton. I'm going with Chris Middleton.
I'm going with another former Cleveland Cavalier, and that's Andrew Wiggins is my last pick. Cavs legend. He's returning home. He knows how to play with Steph. I think he'll just play the role that he's currently playing for the Warriors, which is play around a bunch of great guys and hit open shots. So, I'm going with Wiggins.
So I guess this is the last pick then, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. And it is it is Big Rudy. I have a lot of centers on my team.
Yep.
And I mean, once I real quick assessment. Once I'll read the teams before I make that statement. My team pod: Jokic, Embiid, Chris Paul, Tatum, Jimmy Buckets, Cat, Trey, DeJounte, Van Vliet, DeMar, Chris Middleton, and Rudy Gobert. Team row is Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Ja, Luka, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, LaMelo, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, and Andrew Wiggins. So if you're to not saying that my team would lose for sure, because we go down. We go down till the very end, but if I had to pinpoint a moment of regret, it was not taking LeBron with the second pick and instead going with Joel Embiid,
and that just
who has the potential to just totally sabotage my team. Yeah. But hopefully everyone can get along, and we will play a Rudy Gobert, Cat, Jokic, Embiid.
Yes, that would be cool
lineup. We'll have fun with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rohan, this was fun. Just admit that this was a fun exercise. You had a great time.
It was an exercise.
You had no better way. It was an exercise.
Yeah.
This is the time of the year not to take things too seriously around the league.
You're right.
We're getting into All-Star Weekend. We will probably preview the show or the game and the Saturday night festivities later in the week. But until then, I think that does it for today's show, Rohan. Thank you so much for being yourself.
Listen, the draft was fun. Okay, I'll admit it. The draft was pretty fun. Okay. I got into it. Once we agreed to switch to next two, which I really think is how the NBA needs to do it, or a snake draft, we didn't get to talk about how funny the draft was, the actual draft.
I mean, just iconic stuff. Iconic television.
That would not have worked on any other network besides TNT. Like, those guys are just so good at riling people up. Like, they really don't care. They'll say whatever they want. Like, it was perfect. And LeBron just not being able to keep it together. The fact that Rudy Gobert is, like, somehow the punchline for the second year in a row, where it's like, this guy's just a pawn for them to make their jokes. Like, that's it. It's really...
No, it's like the NBA is high school. Yeah. It is a high school cafeteria.
Yeah.
It's very relatable when we see the draft. It's like... It's so much... I can't believe it took that long for them to do it. Like, remember the first year when they did the draft and it wasn't televised?
Yes. Oh,
and it's
my
like,
God.
What do we even do? Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, Durant said he thinks they should do it right before the game, which I also agree. Like, they should do it like how you do it on a bat. Like, and no one who's ever played basketball, like, you pick your teams on the court that day. Like, you get there, everyone's waiting, you pick them up.
How humiliating would it be to be the last? First of all, like, I don't even think it's that big of a deal. You're an all-star. There's like guys who are in the league who are at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
Who will never sniff that experience. So it doesn't even matter if you're the last pick. Just like, get over it. Okay, so that does it for today's show. Rohan, thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Apologies for not getting to any emails on today's show, but this was incredibly important work here that we did with this All-Star draft. But we will get to way more emails. They're pouring in right now. They're all fantastic. Keep them coming to openfloormail@gmail.com. That's openfloormail@gmail.com. Everyone, please stay safe. Everyone, please continue to enjoy the NBA season. Whoa.